So a few days ago, this lace making pillow arrived that I'd ordered online, and I decided that I wanted to film a review. I've never really reviewed anything specifically before, so we'll see how that goes. I'll give you more information later about where I got it from and what it's made from and the dimensions and the kind of specifics. But I've not got much time this morning. I'm heading out for a lace making class in about 10 minutes, and I really wanted to give my impressions of it before I use it, and then we can kind of compare with the reality of what it's actually like to use afterwards, which is why I'm just doing this quick introduction before I head out. Obviously you can see it's round and the surface is flat. My current lace pillow is the same physical dimensions, but it's actually got a dome on it rather than being flat. And this will be the first flat lace pillow I've ever used. So it'll be interesting to compare. I'm anticipating that the flat surface will actually be easier than the dome because there'll be less rolling around and it just feels like a bigger usable surface area somehow. But like I say, I've not used it yet, so we will find that out later. But the real reason why I chose this particular pillow is, look at this. It's got a beanbag underneath. So when it's on a table or on your lap, like, you can have it angled, or if you want to have it straight, perfectly flat, you can have it flat. And I just think that will be a game changer for me, because when I go to the lace making workshops and there's a small group of us sat around the table and I've had my pillow flat on the table, and then I kind of feel like I'm really kind of leaning over more, which is not good for my shoulders or my back. And I've tried kind of propping the pillow up with a folder or a book or something just to elevate it a little bit. But then that just kind of slides around on the table and it's just not worked out well. And even at home, when I've been doing lace making on my lap, I've used a lap tray which has got a beanbag base, but it's not a very full beanbag. So actually all that helps do is keep the tray level. And then I've ended up in a situation where I've put an extra cushion underneath as well, and then every time you move it's like rearranging everything to try and get the angle right, and it's just not been great. Obviously I've managed, but it's not ideal. So I really think that this is going to be so much better. But as I say, I'm going to find out this morning when I head off to my lace making workshop, and depending how tired I am when I get home, I might film an extra bit when I get home this afternoon, or maybe in the next couple of days I'll come back and let you know what I think of this one. So as you can see, I did indeed start using this pillow on my lace class, and spoiler alert, I really like it. But before I get into what it's like to use, I did say that I would tell you some more specifics about the pillow itself. So it's 18 inches across, and it's made of an extra high density polystyrene, and it's from a company called Biggin's Lace. I'll put their web address on the screen, and then I'll also put a link in the description. My original pillow is also polystyrene, and when I bought it, it was just bare polystyrene, and I made the cover myself. And you'll probably notice that the cover cloth that I'm using on my new pillow is actually a spare bit of material from this one. At some point I will make a new cover cloth to match the navy. The company do actually sell them, but I've got some navy cloth already, so I thought, well, I might as well just use the fabric that I've already got. So obviously, as I said, I covered this myself, so I could see exactly what the structure underneath was like. So this is also polystyrene, but it's not quite as dense as this new one. But because the new one is fully enclosed with the cloth and then the bag underneath, I can't actually show you what that type of polystyrene looks like. I can just tell you it feels much denser than this one. Like if I, you know, push my thumb here, like it does sink into the polystyrene, whereas this, you can feel ever so slightly. You know, it's not made of stone, obviously. It is polystyrene and you need to be able to stick pins in it, but it is much denser than this one. So I anticipate that it will last much better. But of course I've only used it once, so you know, time will tell. But first impressions are really good. And in the description on the website, it says that it's covered in felt and then the layer of fabric over the top. And this is the navy blue version, and they also do it in a red. Although the red has got a different colour on top, so you're not actually working on the bright red, but the side and the bag is red. And if you do have a look on their website, you'll see that they do patterns and bobbins and threads and all the other usual things that you would expect to be able to purchase from a lace supplier. In terms of cost, it's probably not appropriate for me to mention the specific cost that I paid, because obviously depending when you're watching this, prices may have gone up. Obviously it's more expensive than one without a bag, but I think it's worth the extra. Okay, so in terms of using this, I'll just show you how easy it is just to change the angle. You know, I thought with having the bobbins on already, it might be a little risky doing the tilting while it's on there, but yeah, it's really easy to adjust the angle. And I did find when I was at the lace making class that it was perhaps a little bit too high. I mean, you can see in comparison how much higher the working position is than the standard cookie pillow. But of course that wasn't my own table. You know, I couldn't have any control over what height of table I used. That was just the table that is available. I am not good with my posture when I'm doing lace. Like I'm still kind of having to concentrate so much on what my hands are doing that I'm not really thinking about how I'm sitting. And after a little while, I do think, oh, my shoulders are really sore or my back's really sore. And that's just normal for me. I'm hoping that as the lace making becomes more natural, I can kind of be a little bit more aware of how I'm sitting, not just what my hands are doing. But I will say, when I go to the lace class, like previously, at the end of the session, which is quite long, it's about 4 hours, and at the end of the session, normally I've got a really bad back and my shoulders are sore. Well, using this one, I still had sore shoulders, but my back wasn't hurting like it normally would. So even that, although I kind of felt that it was perhaps a little bit high working position on the table, and maybe that's why, you know, my shoulders were aching, because I was kind of lifting my shoulders up. I don't know. I don't know what my posture does when I'm lace making. But it was better. So let me just unhook these pins from my bobbins from my class. And one of the things that I said in my introduction was it feels like a bigger working space being flat rather than dome. And I did actually feel that when I was working. The only thing which I kind of found a little bit more awkward is when you've got sort of bobbins which are kind of a bit too long and they properly drop off the edge, whereas when you've got the sort of curve on the edge, it's not quite so much of a dramatic, or the bobbins dropped off the edge. But overall, I think I prefer the flat surface. and the pin just goes in quite nice and easily. But this thicker pin, which I've got holding my pincushion down, was a little bit more of an effort to push through the fabric and through the dense foam. But the normal pins that you're using while you're working go in just nice and easy. Having just mentioned about my posture, I'm consciously like trying to keep my shoulders down and not hunch up. Okay, so this isn't obviously a lace making video, so I'm not going to make you sit through watching me do all of this. But I am going to move now to my living room and try this out on my lap, because I've not yet used it on my lap, and that is where I do most of my lace making, just sat on my sofa nice and comfy, just with the pillow on my lap. So that's the most important thing for me, that it works well for that. So let's go and give that a try. Okay, so it takes a little bit more fiddling with the beanbag to get it comfortable on the lap, rather than just the straightforward placing it on the table. And I do have a slight feeling that my legs are not quite long enough, as if the beanbag's kind of tipping off my knees a little bit. But it still feels way better than having the flat cookie pillow on a tray with an extra pillow to raise the level. Much better. So what's the verdict? I really like this pillow. I've mentioned there were a couple of very minor things that weren't quite as I would have hoped. Like, for example, on my lap, I kind of feel like I'm going to need to keep readjusting the pillow to make sure it's still in the position that I want. But as I said, when I had it before on my lap on a tray and then with an extra cushion, and you know, that was just a complete nightmare. So as a step up from what I was doing before, this is brilliant and I would highly recommend it. Obviously, like I said, I'm not an experienced lace maker. This is only the second pillow I've ever owned. So maybe if you're more experienced, you've got a better idea of what you actually want from a pillow. But for me, I would really recommend this. I just think it's great. For somebody who's a beginner, and probably even for somebody who's very advanced, this beanbag is just amazing. So I don't have any sponsorship or any affiliation with Biggins Lace. I just bought this for myself, and as I'd never seen any other companies selling pillows like this, I just thought it would be a good thing to do a review of and let you know what I think. So I hope this has been helpful and informative, but if there's anything else that you want to know that I've missed, then please just ask a question in the comments and I'll do my best to answer if I can. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.